Greetings and salutations. We're back with Palworld. And the reason I'm playing Palworld today is because with Pokemon Legends ZA coming out around the corner, I won't be playing that. And there's many reasons why I won't be playing it. First off, I'm more of a Pokemon competitive battler, okay? So, I used to have a whole series where I was doing Regulation H battles on the channel. And I've thought about going back to doing Regulation battles, but I don't like using legendaries, and right now the only regulation has legendaries. So I thought, you know what? No. That, and I played Legends Arceus, and I liked it. It was fun. It had its charm for sure. Um, but it wasn't without its flaws, and it had quite a few in Pokemon Legends Arceus. Obviously, you have to go from zone to zone, do the load times. That's not a big deal. You had to go and I want to go to that oil rig. Matter of fact, I will. You had to go in, obviously, find 100% of the Pokemon. But the issues with Legends Arceus, in my eyes, was the fact that you didn't have... You didn't have the ability to battle against other trainers. That was one of the biggest flaws. And I don't mean like the trainers in the game that exist. I'm talking actual people. The other flaw I had with it was people were calling it a generational game. Like it was part of the main generation. And that's just incorrect. It's not. Despite what people wish to believe, it's not part of the main generation of games. So, they can just stow that opinion as is. Wow. Those are nice little, fishing spots. Oh yeah, I caught that Hootocrates or whatever. What are you doing? Don't mind me. Just on the oil rig fishing. No, they didn't have the ability to play against other trainers. And with agile style and oh cool. Solar Ray. With the agile style and strong style that they added to Arceus, I thought it was an interesting mechanic. It'd be even more interesting if they put it into the game, because now it messes with speed priorities in such a way that you kind of have to think about the move you make before you make it. Further than I know I'm faster than insert Pokemon, so I'm going to go with this move that does more power. But if I'm not faster, I'm going to go with, obviously, the speed priority move. It kind of removes that whole strategy, but it puts a new strategy on it, which is, do you want to use the agile style in an attempt to make your next turn faster to then hit with the strong style? That would have been a great battle mechanic to have throughout the entirety of the game and throughout like competitive battling. Though it did open up the game to the mainline games. It did open those up to having certain aspects like Hisuian forms. Now there are some Hisuian forms that are really solid, and it allowed for catching max weight Pokemon. Matter of fact, I have a max weight Hippowdon, whose job it is to crush Fluttermane. So it did allow for that, which gave an interesting, almost counterpoint to the game. That once it was opened up to Pokemon Go, not Go, sorry, Pokemon Home, you could effectively transfer over everything you've made. And of course, with the way the Everstone works, you could breed They're only level 15s, are you kidding me? I've waited too long to come here. Well, they know I'm here. Always love a good air raid siren. Danger flammable. Catrus Ignis is in the party. Is there any way to shut off that alarm? Oh, there we go. Apparently the alarm did not alert that man. Well, that one just went to the back of Catrus's dome. Hey, Catrus, you think maybe you can, kill the robotic turret? No? Alright. That's fine. But anyway, as I was saying, the Hisuian varieties allows you for more things like Hisuian Decidui. Well, okay. What, did Catrus Ignis die or something? Serpentine. Get in the crate. That automated thing was annoying. But, having the Hisuian varieties, back to what I was saying before, it opened up the scope and depth of the actual competitive metagame. It may not have been as amazing as other people wanted it to be, but wow, that takes a long time to open. But it was still good, right? Like it still gave a massive boon to the metagame, 100%. And the more it could do for the metagame, the better. Really don't want to have to deal with that thing shooting at me. And with that with that change to the competitive metagame came a lot of different ideas, different strategies, and then they just all undid it by making Regulation I and Regulation J, by making it all legendary. So now all you see is just like Miraidon, Koraidon, Fluttermane, Ursaluna. You'll see some old faces like in Incineroar, and so on and so forth. They use very few of the old ones and a lot of just the new giga powerful things. This is why I can't wait for Pokemon Champions, because at least in Pokemon Champions it's pure competitive metagame. There is no storyline at all. Oh wow. Dig toys. Is that man holding a flamethrower? He is. Bad dig toys, you've been put down. Oh, good. My inventory's full. It's always good. Well, I don't need arrows, because it's sturdy arrows. Fiber can go away, too. Why did I pick up stone and ingots? What happened? Why do I have the jam-filled bread in my hands? Why is it not in my food bag? Like, come on, game. Work with me on this. I've got a ton of ore. I don't even need ore. I can actually ditch the ingots if I felt so inclined. Same way with the Pallium fragments. I could just generate them out of the grinder. Cool. Feed it to the bird. Get rid of some of these training manuals. Probably going to regret that later. Maybe not. I don't know. Get rid of the stones. I got a ton of those. Yeah, we'll get rid of that too. I know. 12 ingots. Most people around here would be like, oh my god, he's just deleting ingots. I have an entire ore camp devoted to making ore. Ingots mean nothing. That's a big Dumud. Where are you shooting, dude? That Dumud actually got close to hitting me over here. Really? Interesting part is I can hit things on here. I could not hit anything with the DMR in Battlefield. Wait, how on earth did you survive that? That was point blank, fully charged. I can imagine. I can only imagine what it's like to come here at a lower level and be faced with all the stuff. Really? You're gonna climb the thing? I bet this was absolutely horrifying at lower levels. This is just cake now. It's like a little side quest. And the pals don't fight him. Yep, that was about exactly what I thought was gonna happen. I thought if I shot it, it would go kaboom. I was right. But no, so ZA is not going to be a mainline game. To me, it's not even going to be worth playing. And from the preliminary, from what I've seen so far on Twitter of people playing it, the buildings look to be flat objects. Like, I mean, I'm not saying Nintendo completely welched on it, but they look like they welched on it. Oh, there's one right there. Are you kidding me? Wish I could build a base here. If these things didn't shoot at me. Good, no more auto turrets. Good, no more syndicate. That should be it. Unless there's something in here. Yeah, see, now that's something right there that they would do in Lumio City. Just a door that doesn't go anywhere. It has no functionality. It's just a wall. That was what was happening in ZA. There was a lot of people, like, there's a lot of people that are just fan loyalists, and they're sitting there, and they're just eating up the game, and that's fine. If you enjoy it for what it is, enjoy it. I have no problems with that. For me, I'm a fan loyalist to a degree, and that degree is don't don't cheapen out on a game. You know, if you're gonna make a game and you're gonna take pride in it being like a premier Pokemon title like you want it to be, then don't make it a cheap experience. You know what I mean? I have no idea where the bird went. Like, perhaps it's not only me. Oh, he's down here. Like, maybe I'm not the only one. Maybe I'm the voice of reason here that says, you know, if you're gonna make a game, make it right. Do it right. It's just, that's the way to do it. That's the smart thing to do. Really now. Can this be opened, I wonder? No. So that was the oil rig. Probably would have been absolutely horrific if I was out here at level. But considering I waited to come do it, I thought, well, no harm, no foul. Well, come to find out. Much harm, much foul, because it wasn't a challenge. Ooh, wait, that's a thing. Ooh, there's one of those. Fast travel point. And then there's a portal here. Looks like a summoning portal. And this is the other thing to me, is you'd figure that Game Freak, to some degree, would have taken a look at, I need to get, oh, I think I needed to capture a serpent for somebody. Are you serious? Fine, be that way. Didn't want to get captured? You deserve nothing less. A war sect. I do not have a war sect. They sound cool, so I wish I did. But what I've noticed is Game Freak should have just taken a look at Palworld and said, you know what? They've done a good job making. Right, there's a war sect in the portal. And I have to catch it, not kill it. So that's gonna be tough. But they should have actually just taken a look at it and said, worthwhile competitor. I'm glad to see somebody built something, and we'll try harder. Didn't. And then when you realize that Matsuda was, well, for lack of a better term, cut from the Game Freak team. Oh, it's a big stag beetle. Cool. No, not Beacon. He'll kill it. Round grass, huh? That thing does look cool. Oh, it can throw rocks with, like, psychic energy. Interesting. There we go. But they should have just bowed out. But then they got rid of Junichi no Matsuda, allegedly. Because they said that the last games he worked on was X and Y, which were actually good. and had Mega Evolutions. Then you take a look at Sun and Moon, and Sun and Moon felt kind of dialed, like, phoned in. Right? It's just like, yeah, hello, we need another Pokemon game. Give us Sun and Moon. It takes place in Hawaii. And it felt kind of pathetic. Allegedly, those were the last games he worked on, was X and Y. Which, if that's the case, and they had, and he literally just did not work on anything else, that sucks. Because he was good at it. Like, he was really good at making Pokemon games. And it's just kind of a shame. Lambell. Do I have a Flimbell? I think I do. I think I do have a Flimbell. But it's been a slow degradation. And I've said this multiple times about the state of the competitive game. Back when you had Mega Evolutions, there was counterplay, right? I do have a Flimbell. And the counterplay existed in the sense that you go and you play like Kangaskhan, and you do Power Up Punch after you Mega Evolve, right? That Mega Evolution Power Up Punch is kind of what allowed people to play with counters such as, say, Avalugg, right? Felbat. I know I have a Felbat. And there was also ones that if you had something out there, they could come in like something that had Sturdy. So if you had, say, not that anybody really ran it, Rhydon or even Rhyperior. Rhyperior had Sturdy. Anybody that was running Rhyperior, you could bring out something like Ampharos and do Mega Ampharos, and the Mold Breaker would remove Sturdy. So there was counterplay with the Mega Evolutions. The Z moves created a snowball situation where you would have you'd have Eevee do its Z move, the something or other evolution or whatever. Forgot even the name of it because it was just Sun and Moon battling, or competitive battling, was just horrendous. But nevertheless, he would use that move and he would get massive amounts of stats and then just baton pass them to the next Pokemon, who would inevitably... Did I leave my Felbat in it? I think I left him in the other base, didn't I? Because I'm not seeing him. Look, there he is. Oh, he's down in the cave. But no, the Z moves, they would just pass on those stats to something that usually had Minimize, or Drifloon was very popular for that. There was I believe Muck was also popular for it because they had Alolan Muck, which then eliminated the psychic weakness because it was dark poison. And they would just use Alolan Muck, go out, minimize, and then sweep. Or they would use Drifblim, which also had Baton Pass, and they would minimize a few times, Baton Pass, and then sweep again. And it got to the point where it was such a one-sided competition that most people just didn't want to do the competitive battling anymore. It got lame. Incredibly lame. And so there's that issue as well. And I think that was one of the reasons why it was truly Sun and Moon was the start of the downfall. Now there was other ones that they weren't good by any means. Like X and Y were one of the best. Sun and Moon were just kind of there. And Black and White were decent. They were decent. It's almost like Pokemon pulled their head out of their keister and was like, you know what? We've made a lot of mistakes, but we're going to rectify it with this one game. And Black and White felt felt like it was a decent game to play, right? Because the metagame wasn't the same things over and over and over again. Plus, the other thing you had, and I'm talking aside from like the actual playthrough. Like if you did the actual playthrough of the game, that was fine. There wasn't a big twist or turn or anything like that. But the playthrough of the game felt good to play. But at the end of it all is when it really got interesting in terms of the competitive metagame afterward. That is where the game really shined. Because you had people like me and other players that were just almost bored with the way the previous iterations were going. And it wasn't a good thing to have in the game. It felt very almost like they slapped the competitive battling on it as an afterthought. If that makes sense. Right? So that was oh wait, he's still in the cave, never mind. Because it's still gonna get fell back. That was the afterthought of it felt like an afterthought in Sun and Moon. Almost like, oh yeah, well here's the Z moves. Whatever. Right? So it felt bad because it felt like an afterthought. Yet when you played Black and White, it's like they came in and they said, okay, we know where we made a mistake. And we made the mistake here in the battling. And so we're going to fix that. And they did. By making little nuanced... How do I want to put this? If you remember the DNA clip for like Qrem, Reshiram, Zekrom, and Qrem, they had this, what was called a DNA clip. It was a little held item. And if you held them, you could fuse them together and make different Pokemon. Which was cool. It was a very innovative thought at the time. And where on earth did I put these ancient civilizations? Did I put them in here? Yes, I did. I'm a fool's fool, disregard. I put the medicine over here. Correct. But when they added those little things, the little nuanced, like, held items, it did add more depth to the game. And they started giving more Pokemon, more hidden abilities and other things along those lines. And that also made the game feel... You almost felt more invested in the game as a whole. Now, that's not always the case. I mean, there's a lot of times where people just didn't care. And they were like, oh, you're still buying that slop. And it's like, okay, I can see the frustrations, right? But at the same time, it's like, I also see that there's no reason to be that upset over people purchasing the mainline Pokemon games at the time. Oh, jeez, another raid. Oh, it was a meteorite that crashed. So I was wondering, I was like, what's making that sound? I thought it was a raid. Okay, we're good. Not a whole lot of stone here. Thought I had more stone than I thought. Maybe I can now catch some of those alien-looking pals. Yeah, those things. Xenovators. I didn't catch any of those before. Ooh, I'll take that. I love this sphere launcher. It's just too much fun to just... Oh, okay, he's upset. Noted. Now they're mine. Ooh, rocks. Wait, what does it say? I'm sitting there cycling through all of these things. Got him. Nailed it. Back to what I was saying. X and Y added a lot more depth. Not X and Y, I'm sorry. Black and White added a lot more depth to the competitive battling scene. It wasn't overboard on the whole, like, snowball style thing where the game would just get out of hand. It wasn't as bad in Black and White. Because you still had counters to stuff. You still had a way that you could play around certain things. And it still offered a new and interesting perspective on a lot of the game. Now, that doesn't say that the game was flawless at all. That just... It had its challenges. It had things like Type Null. Type Null I did not care for. It had things... akin to Arceus, but they had Genesect. But they had a lot of things that were that could get a little overpowered, a little snowbally. Then they kind of rectified it. But it wasn't as bad as previous iterations. Where it got to be real bad was, oddly enough, Pokemon, not Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield. Sword and Shield did great with the whole open world concept in like the little Pal Park areas. Not Pal Park, but you know what I'm saying. The whole, you know, you get your pals to do this here, and hold up, that's way too many ingots. Let's go with 420 ingots for now. Well, that's not helpful. But they had the whole, you know, you get your pals have, you can go out into the open world. You know what I'm talking about. The wild areas. That's what they're called. And with the Sword and Shield's two things with the Isle of Armor and the Crown Tundra, yeah, they were paid expansions. I get that that's kind of the way that the game industry was going. But at the same time, they felt like a complete and utter side storyline. So you felt like, because you only paid, I don't know, $5 for the whole thing, but you felt like you were getting your money's worth. Because you played, I think it was like 10 total for Crown Tundra, and then 10 for the other one. I think. I could be very wrong, but if I'm wrong, my memory has failed me. That's fine. However, it still felt like you were getting a lot more than what you were paying for. You got 2 new areas, a whole slew of new Pokemon, a whole new side story. The only drawback to that game, truthfully, was the fact that the Dynamax, as much as people loved to see it, it just was too much. It's honestly way too much. And that was the sad part. If they had just kind of backed off the whole thing and not made Dynamax so lopsided, I think it would have done better. The game was very linear, and I will give them that. Which, it feels bad when you have a game that feels linear like that. Like, you can't deviate from the storyline, you can't deviate anywhere else, and you can't just kind of go on an adventure. Like with this. It feels bad to have that, but I can understand why they did it the linear way they did. They wanted it to feel more like the previous mainline games, only in 3D. And they did manage that. But the Dynamaxing was just a pustulant tumor on the battling community. Because you would see people run, like, Gigantamax Gengar, right? And most people would be like, well, there's no problem with Gigantamax Gengar. Yeah, generally, no. But when everybody runs it, because once it uses, like, G-Max Poltergeist or whatever it was, you lose. You just straight lose. Because now your Pokemon can't leave the field of battle. Its special defense drops by a stage. It was just awful. And that's just the cold hard truth of it all. And the game would just snowball from there. And you only got 3 turns of Dynamax. Which everybody's like, well, there you go, there's the balance. No, it still wasn't balanced. Because when you're doing a 1v1 battle, or even a 2v2 battle, one team uses the Dynamax early, and you outlive the three turns, and okay, all's well and good. Except for the fact that it's not all well and good. Thank you for capturing the Mossanda. I thank you for this. And now you can have a Burning Inferno to satiate your curiosity of what it would feel like to chew 5 gum. Yeah, I don't think that was a smart move, buddy. But by the time the Dynamax was over, the game was usually well in the person who Dynamaxed first's favor. Either directly through the fact that you've lost either one, if not more than one Pokemon, or two, you're so far behind on stats and you have to swap out and then suffer being attacked again by by the same Dynamax Pokemon on a new Pokemon you've put out. Thus, whoa, computer, slow your roll, buddy. I get it, you're excited, but, you know, process, my friend, process. And it would just tilt the battle, one way or the other, which is a bad thing. You don't want that. So, you know, swapping in certain Pokemon like that caused issues. The other issue with the battling in that game was the fact that, let's say you manage to have one of your Pokemon get KO'd, right? Death fodder, as we call them. You always put someone on your team that you don't really care too much if you lose them, because that's kind of their job, is to just eat the hit and then just be like, all right, whatever. And then you follow it up with, say, a Ditto. Well, now you've got a problem, because now your Ditto does not copy the Dynamax. It comes in and it copies the baseline creature. Normally I would say that that's not that big of an issue, but there's a problem. When that happens, the problem arises with 9 times out of 10, the opponent is going to have a move on there that will defeat itself. Especially if it's like Ghost. It'll have Ghost-type maneuvers, or Dark-type maneuvers, etc. Computer. Holy crap. Like, look at that. Process all that, man. I should be able to go like this and snap it and not have it bogged down in process. I think there's lighting effects that Palworld needs to get an error report for, to be truthfully honest with you. Or Pocket Pair, I should say. Once you lose your death fodder, though, and you swap into the Ditto or into a presumable counter to what they have, your chances of winning are now catastrophically lower still, because you're down that death fodder, which doesn't seem all that important considering you're labeling it death fodder, but you have to decide when you want to lose that Pokemon. Is if you say, well, I would prefer to lose it at a specific point in time where I can pivot the battle in my favor. Okay. So you try, and you try to lose it at that point. Well, they Dynamax, now you can no longer do that, because now you have to knee-jerk respond to the Dynamaxing. This is what caused a lot of issues in the competitive scene. And then, when Scarlet and Violet came along, and everybody dogged on Scarlet and Violet, they were like, oh, this is absolutely terrible. Yeah, graphically it was terrible. The game could not run on the proper hardware. But let's look at it realistically. Even though it couldn't run on the hardware, competitively speaking, it was an incredible game. And the reason it was an incredible game is because terrestrialization, for better or worse, in the overall scheme of being a Pokemon ability, terrestrialization gave by far the most counterplay ever in any mainline Pokemon game. It was something that the diehard players of the game had been clamoring for years, was to bring back something similar to Mega Evolutions. Well, now they got it. And after they got it, a lot of people were unhappy because, well, it looks like poo, and it runs like poo. Okay, I'll give them that. It does. But the competitive battling aspect... Oh, hello. What are you? You've caught my eye. Gelroy. Nevertheless, terrestrialization was an absolutely incredible mechanic. Which is what leads me up to Pokemon Champions. Pokemon Champions is going to have all of that. It's going to have the terrestrialization. It's going to have Mega Evolutions. It's going to have the Z moves. It's going to have all of it. Now the real question becomes, what happens? How do you work it? What's the workaround? Do you only allow one? Do you only allow one terrestrialization, or one Mega Evolution, or one Dynamax? Like, there has to be a system of, like, checks and balances here. And the other thing, and Nintendo, Game Freak, what have you, do take my advice on this. I know they won't, but do take my advice on this. Put it in there so that it's bring 6, pick 6, not bring 6, pick 3. I understand the gamesmanship and the strategy behind it of, I'm bringing 6 Pokemon, but I can only pick 3 to try to bamboozle my opponent into thinking, what am I playing? But let's be real here. Nobody in their right mind is bringing 6 and picking only 3. They're going to build an entire team strategy around 3 and want to run just that strategy. That's why, like, bring 6, pick 3 is the worst strategy ever. It's the worst idea they've ever had. So they just need to allow bring 6, pick 6, and other things. That's what they need to do. Hands down, no two ways about it. Do that, and your game will be absolute genius. Considering it's Pokemon Champions is all about the competitive battling. There's no storyline. It's no mainline game. It's just for people like me who like to go against other players in PvP battles. Awesome. Fantastic. Let's do it. It sounds like a great piece of software. And it comes out for both phones and Switch. So mobile and Switch. So if you want to play it on, on a mobile phone, because you're a Pokemon Go, you're a massive Pokemon Go player, and you just kind of want to get into the whole what is, competitive metagaming in Pokemon, then that's exactly what you'll do. I mean, you could just take your Pokemon Go Pokemon and go and get into the game. Which I recommend everybody try at least. I recommend they try competitive battling once. But before you do the competitive battling, know what you're doing. Right? Get the EV training, get the IV breeding, do something that does exactly what you need. Like, you want to build actual competition Pokemon before stepping into competitive battling. Otherwise, you're just going to get steamrolled, and it's going to feel very bad. Who's that? Messenger of Love. Do I want to know? Okay. What was that? I don't think I've seen. I don't think I've seen one of them. That was great. I'm just gonna start breakdancing in the middle of a field. I don't know if that's a messenger of love, but it's certainly something. Right, I have to get back to the fast travel point. But yeah, definitely get into competitive battling if you want, but look up how to do competitive battling. Like, if you want a good crash course at competitive battling, the best resource I could give anybody, as much as I cannot stand it, is, oddly enough, both Smogon and Pokemon Showdown. I can't stand Pokemon Showdown. Because all you have to do is just type in your IVs and everything that you want and then do it. Right? So basically, Pokemon Showdown is for those that are unwilling or just unable to create the Pokemon by way of the natural method of taking the time to breed them with and get IVs and everything. Which I get for some people, they're pressed for time and they can't do it. Or they are pressed for monetary funds and they can't do it. I get that. I just don't care for that route. Because to me, it's like you should have put in the work prior to that to get to this point. But that's the way I see things. That's the way I've kind of always seen things. Again, I'm a little different when it comes to things like that. So, nevertheless, I hope everybody enjoyed this video, because I know I did, even though all I did was just kind of fart around and do some exploring and whatnot. But I wanted to have that discussion about Pokemon and ZA. Now, if in the future I somehow have enough free time and money to get it, will I? Maybe. As a very, very distant maybe. Because I just don't see the value in it. And this is where I'm going to be told I'm daft. But I just don't see the value in it. I really don't. It's... I'm not saying it's a subpar Pokemon game, but it just doesn't feel to me like it's worth the investment. If that makes a lot of sense. Wait, there's honey in another... One of these has honey in it. I saw it. Ooh, no, but there's tablet fragments there. Just like there's tablet fragments there. Boom. But I think everybody would... Not that they would do well, but I think that there's a lot of people out there that would enjoy it. And I really wish they would give them a try. Give all of competitive Pokemon battling a try. I think you would really enjoy it. That is about ready to do it for me. I am going to repair all my stuff and do my sign-off. I hope everybody has a fantastic evening, a wonderful tomorrow, and as always, have a good one.